Instagram thing. So I think if our volume's off, it's not going to pick us up.
Correct. You
Yeah,
are
so that's
correct, sir. We are going live in 3, 2, 1, 0. We up.
You think it really works? Like, oh, there it is live. Look at that. Pip 11620. Holy cow, man. This thing is fast. Interwebs these days. Hold on. I got to turn my volume off. We're going to get some feedback. There we go. We had some feedback. But there, ooh, we are live. This is cool.
So, anyway, we are live. So this was an impromptu, Pip and National Fire Radio 555 size up every title. We got a few of them. But listen, man, it's been a crazy ride. This week has been nuts. Absolutely nuts. So you getting caught up in all this nonsense?
With what?
So this week's the election, right? Like COVID's firing back up, but we've been dealing with that since February, right? So like, is what it is at this point.
Oh, COVID was supposed to go away on Wednesday. Duh.
I know. Well, they haven't decided yet. So,
they're working on that.
Yeah, up in the air. But no, the election, right? Not to go political or anything, but it's always the topic of conversation. So, I mean, are you up in this?
Yeah, I'm definitely been keeping up. I think you have to be. I think to be an educated American, you better be keeping up on it and seeing what's happening. I think a really interesting thing for me this week has been my kids. More Finn, my older son, the 10-year-old, is way more into it than I think I was when I was 10.
100%.
And watching things. Yeah, watching things on their own and making opinions and asking. I'm impressed at the questions he's asking me about the whys of this. Why can the president sue a state? Does that mean they're not going to be a state if he wins? And I'm like, oh Jesus, man.
Yeah, right. I think it's incredible. My daughters, my two younger daughters, my two older kids are out of the house already, so I know their political views. They both vote. Like, I know where they stand. We've had many conversations, regardless of what side we're on, and so on. Where you stand, but. I think overall this election's pretty interesting, and not even to the aspect of, which way you swing or believe in, but it's more about information. And that's what I'm struggling with my younger kids now, is watching my 12 and 13-year-old navigate the information that's being fed to them through their social media channels, right? Because they have TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And so they surround themselves with influencers that they look up to, right? And that's what an influencer is, right? They influence. And so I find it interesting to have those dinner conversations with my kids now about the election and about life, because these kids are getting this information, but I was also thinking, this is dangerous, right? Because the kids are being fed information and they're not vetting it because they're too young to understand how to vet this information and so on. But then I sit here and think about how many people can't even think independently for themselves, and they're adults, and they're being whatever's being told to them, they believe. I mean, I look at some of the reposting people are doing on their social media, and they cut and copy like a paste, or they share a tab, and I look at it and I'm like, the credibility of that is so not authentic.
How could you even think that? Yeah.
It's unbelievable, right? And it's just, and you sit there and you start to sit back and you go, wow. I mean, like, now more than ever, people have become so skewed to not be independent thinkers anymore.
Yep, they just go with what they're told. And look, I mean, you and I guess, have been in this social media game for a while now, and we've seen the change occur because we see some of the back end things that we know occur. And at this point, you really, if you're not questioning everything that you're seeing, whatever it is, I don't know what you're doing. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. I really do truly believe that's what makes our country great. But it's when people are just blindly saying, this is my opinion, without even thinking about it, without even creating it for themselves. They're taking someone else's. And I know we've worked really hard on our platforms to not have that occur. Right. To not have our personal opinion affect that, or our, just trying to put the information out there and expressing it and letting people decide. And I think we've done a really good job of that. Definitely harder when it comes to this whole election thing, but I really do think we've done a decent job of it and learned from it.
So the perfect lead in, right? So then let's take this and transpose this to the fire service, right?
Yes, and there's a question in the chat. I just flicked over to the chat about that. Is that what you're going to say or no?
I'm not even in the chat. Are you monitoring the chat?
Okay.
You chat.
Yep.
I'm just gonna sit here and look pretty. But
because
my question is though, and that's why I wanted to lead in with this, right? It's a great lead in. And what you said, there were a couple nuggets there that you said that I think really transpose over to the fire service, and that, often we believe in blind leadership, meaning this is the way we've done it, this is how we do it. But now more than ever, people are asking questions, right? But it's a double-edged sword, because at some points in our industry, we don't want people asking questions. We want them to understand there's a method behind it, and we've done it this way, and there's a reason for it, and we'll get to the explanation. But on the other end, people are more inquisitive now more than ever, right? So we talk about politics, people believe the agenda they want to believe. When we talk about the firehouse, what? Do they believe in the agenda? Do they believe in their own agenda? This is that internal struggle we have in the firehouse every single day, right? Sometimes,
for sure.
Sometimes they're asking too many questions. It's shut up, kid. Other times they're not asking enough questions. They're asking for that initiative, but maybe they're not pushing that initiative because we've stymied them on telling them, shut up, kid.
So this is, and Dan, I see your question, and we're going to get to it in a minute here, for sure. But this is something I talked about on episode 10 of the Size Up last night with my two buddies who are both captains, and where we have got to put our people first. Yep. Right? Not our people's opinions, not our people's tactical knowledge, not our people's skills, let's just say. It's about the people. That's where these opinions come into play, right? Everybody is entitled, again, to their opinion to an extent. Listen, I don't want your opinion when I'm masking up at the door and we're going in when you've been here 2 weeks. Like, that's not the time to tell me what you learned in the fire academy. I've been here 18 years. I've done this a couple more times than you. Let's go with it. We can talk about it after for sure if you didn't like something, but it's about that knowledge of when your opinion is okay, when it's not, or to be given, I should say, not your opinion, but when it's the appropriate time to give in and how to give it. Because that's what we're really talking about, is how people are delivering their opinions right now. They are just blatantly being like, you were wrong, I am right. This is you need to go. And I think that kind of leads into this thing that Dan said in the chat. I have to scroll because I can't watch us not talking in the right time frame all the time. But he says, how bad does this election divide a station or a company, if at all? And I think that goes back to the culture you have. Because if you have let this election divide your station or your company, then you have bigger problems in this election in what's going on in your firehouse. You're always going to have people disagreeing in your firehouse, and especially on a hot button topic like what we have going on right now. But if you let that negativity creep into the day-to-day operations of your group, you got to nip that in the bud quick.
But I'll tell you, man, I did I used to do those like 1 minute like zingers on Sunday nights, and I have gotten away from that. I actually recorded a couple yesterday to start releasing. And the one that I did yesterday was about this topic. And that's why I wanted to bring it up today, because I really wanted your opinions and see if we get some feedback on it. But for me, I look at it this way: put 4 guys on a fire engine, right? You show up at the firehouse that day, or if you're a volunteer, the pager goes off, you show up at that firehouse, you don't know who you're getting, right? And it could be anybody from any color, any religion, any belief set, any mindset, any place in life. It could be an affluent person. It could be a poor person. You don't know their situation a lot of times. And everybody comes with their baggage, and not only baggage, but of who they are over time and who they become and so on, right? So there's so much to the equation, but you put 4 guys on that engine or truck and you give them a task, and we get that job done. Right. And we get that job done, and we do it as a team, because all that shit gets checked at the door. Even the guy that busts your balls the most in the firehouse, when it's go time, that gets all put aside for the most part, and we operate as a team. And I think now more than ever, this country needs to take a page out of the playbook of the fire service, where you got to check this shit at the door, and there's a time and a place for, all of this. Right. And now more than ever, we've become a society where acceptance is now so much greater than it's ever been. And I know people still struggle with it, whether it's religious oppression or racism. It's sure, it all still exists, but we are in a time now more than ever in the short history of this country that it's better than it's ever been, right? And yet we tend to get led to believe that it's still so bad. And it might be, but without going down this road,
no, you're right.
Bring it back to the fire service is we check it at the door. We go to work, we go to a job, and we check it at the door. And I don't care who's sitting across from me, other than their qualifications are good, they have practical knowledge and experience, and they know their position on the fire ground, right? Those are go ahead.
And that's exactly what Dan typed right before you said that same thing, you know, that you leave it in the engine room, you leave it at the kitchen table. And the fire service has been an exemplary, that's a big word for me too, example. Although I don't think they work, I couldn't spell it at all. Then I added example and there's too much.
Go with it. Listen, we're just as smart as you are, so don't worry about it.
Of that, right? Leave it at the door. I mean, I have seen people seething at each other, let's just say, like, you know, like the spit coming out of their mouths, argument about whatever they're arguing about, and the tones drop, and that's forgotten. You know what I mean? And we're going to work. Now, maybe when we come back and we're right back into it again, but you do have to check that. And I think that goes back to, again, mission first, and the fact that we, as a community, a culture, whatever you want to call it, know the value of human life, you know, and know that importance of how things could change in an instant for us, right? And we saw that, and our country learned that on 9/11 for sure, and we are far removed from what our country was on September 12th, 2001, but those are the things we as a service have always known could occur. And I think checking it at the door, that's something that our country could definitely has to take from us now. You know, they have to, because tomorrow's coming. We got to move on.
Well, and that's it, right? I mean, it's the dwelling, you know, that hampers us in the fire service too, and it's doing it now more than ever in our country, is how we dwell on issues and how we, you know, people can't get over things as quickly as I think we used to, right? There's something to be said for, you know, years ago, two guys go beyond they have a disagreement, they go beyond the firehouse for you know, 5 minutes, and it's over, right? And you come back in, you crack a beer, and it's over, right? And I think some of that mentality still needs to hold true. I think some people need to understand, you know, that there has to be some compromise. You know, that your opinion and my opinion, I mean, Pip, you and I are good friends now, but there's things we're going to disagree on. And
yeah, we have all year, we've disagreed on things.
And we have to, it's very true. And we have to put ourselves in a position, you know, to understand at least empathy. You have to have some empathy, right? For the other person, right?
Yeah.
I think when you check that at the door and you no longer feel the worth of the other person in the conversation, we're headed towards a bad place. So this leads me to my next conversation about the fire service is, you know, the American culture, we're all about no. We love to say no. And I am such a yes person. And I think that in our firehouse, the fact that everybody, you know, put it in perspective here. You got a young kid, they're watching some training online, maybe that, you know, that National Fire Radio, Eckerd Fire Tactic training. They see something.
What? Was that a plug? That was a plug? It was a plug, I think.
A little bit.
A small plug.
Check it out. But my point is this, right? You got a couple kids that are go-getters. They see a new hose load. Even it could be as simple as a Minuteman load or something, or a AAA or whatever, right? Tenement pack. I mean, the list goes on and on about how guys pack their hoses across this country. And they see something that goes, hey, man, that could be beneficial for us. And then they bring it to their officer or their senior guy, and they tell them about it and say, hey, we'd like to try this. And they get no. Just plain and simple.
Flat out no. Well, yeah.
No, well, we don't need to do that. We're fine the way we are. Yeah, no, I know it's good the way we do it, but, you know, we saw try this. No, there's no need. We have become such a no culture. And I think part of my belief in that is the reason why we have become a no culture is because now more than ever, we have people scared in the fire service that aren't staying up on the newest, latest, and greatest, that they're going to get passed by some of the kids that are paying attention and watching what's new and exciting in the industry. And I think, people become threatened, whether it could be on a very small scale, but I'm a 25-year guy. I just got my 25-year stripe last night in pin, which was really cool. And I'm sitting there.
Oh, good for you! Congratulations.
Yeah,
did that happen, or you just?
No, it did last night. Yeah, it did. And they handed it out at a dinner last month, but I was not at the dinner, and so I didn't even know about it. We had a meeting last night, and they called me up front. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Am I in trouble?
Yes. So then they call the chief and assistant chief up, and they're like, hey, Jeremy, congratulations. I forgot all about it. So it was cool. It was one of those moments. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It was like very casual and informal. Then I stood around and I looked at everybody. What's up, buddy? I turned around, looked at everybody, and I go, all right, guys, you got like 10, 15 minutes. I'd like to make a speech. And they all look at me and they're like, no. Get down. That was funny.
Mr. Jeremy said, what's up? Give him a wave.
How are you, bud? No school today?
No school today. New Jersey week, man. We're supposed to be in Disney right now, man. Come on.
I know. My kids are still in bed right now. They're still in bed.
Good for you.
But where I'm headed with this is, so 25-year guy, and there's a lot of kids in the room that are a hell of a lot smarter than me, because they have access more than I ever had, right? And and so my thing is like, if they came to me and said like, hey, we'd like to try this or do this, if I'm that type that's a no culture, I would tell them, no, guys, we're good the way we do it. That's how we always did it. We don't need to. But instead, we should promote that. And and I'm a yes guy. And I'm like, yeah, try it. Let's see it. Show me it works. Prove to me that your method's better. And if it is, you win, man. Like, we'll get that on the truck. We'll do it. But I think.
Bro, did you watch episode 10? Did you watch episode 10 of The Size Up? That's not even out yet. We recorded it last night and we talked about this specific thing.
Of course. So I'm trying to steal your thunder, but it is truly something that's been on my mind, because I relate the no culture to our societal cancel culture that we have now, and I can draw connections between the two. And so this is fun right now. The last 20 minutes or so has been fun, because we're hitting on topics that are relevant in society, yet they carry over to the fire service and how they relate to what we're dealing with every day. But this no culture, definitely something that is affecting us, and I think it stymies growth, and it doesn't allow people to flourish, and I think it's putting us down a bad path. What are your thoughts on that?
It's 100% agree is the easiest way to say it, because I never really thought of it about as being just a no culture, because I don't think I've necessarily ever been that guy. I'm always been the guy, and especially,
but officers that have been.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, for sure.
Command staffs that, they're good the way it is.
Yeah, I know people in the business world that are that, in every type of aspect I could think of. Teachers that are no culture, and you're like, you're a teacher. They're supposed to ask you questions and be curious, right?
Yeah.
But when you think about that in the fire service, you have to move forward. It's how we move forward. It's by learning new things and by taking new things on. And I'm all for trying anything. Let's try it now and see if it works. And I mean, really, in particular, one thing I know we've changed on, I think it's on all the engines now, but is just how we kept our bumper load. And it was really simple. A guy saw a video online of what I think they call it the scorpion load, which I think this makes zero sense to me, but whatever, where we keep 100-foot bumper line.
Right.
And when you're packing it, you pack it the exact same way. You leave the coupling out.
Right.
And then you keep packing it. So now the coupling and the nozzle sit on top, and
right.
you just pull them both out together.
Yep.
And I remember he did it, and he's like, try it and see what you think. And okay, I went out to the engine. We parked out front. I pulled 100-foot of hose out by myself, and it was in the spot I needed it to be.
Right.
Genius. I'm like, you're a genius. Oh my God, like mind blown, right? Like, how didn't I think of this stupidity? And I mean, it probably took us on my company a solid 6 months to get everybody to agree that this was genius. But I think a lot of it was because of that no culture, where they were just saying,
but you also had a culture then in place too, that guy was given the green light and felt comfortable enough to ask you if he could try it and then have you try it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this no culture creates the culture where we don't allow any growth, right? Because the no culture is going to create zero growth. You're not going to allow anything to happen. And so then what happens is the guys that have ideas and thoughts that become mindless fools, and they become the sheep, right? They become the sheep, and we don't want sheep. We don't want sheep on the firehouse. We want lions, right?
Yeah, was it lion? I think it's wolves. It's the sheep.
Well, I like lions and sheep. I mean,
you like lions better.
Yeah.
If you watch Ted Lasso, it's be a panda or a lion. But I agree that's
what
you want. In Ted Lasso, there's a dude. You got to watch this show, Jeremy. I'm telling you.
But like that's funny. But it's not out yet.
A panda or a lion. What's that?
It's not out yet, is it?
Well, the show Ted Lasso is on Apple TV.
Oh, the show.
You got to watch the show, not my episode. No. But that's a whole thing in the show. Would you rather be a panda or a lion type thing?
Oh,
but
really?
It's the same thing. Yeah. But yeah, I don't want sheep. I don't want mindless drones. I don't want robots. I don't want yes men.
So why are we creating them?
Why? Because it's easier and it's less challenging to us, right? Isn't that those are those no guys that we're talking about? Yep. And there was we talked about it last night, a long time in the fire service where the people that were in the top, the people that we were all listening to, they didn't want to be knocked off of their perch.
That's correct.
Right? And they wanted do this, do that. Now, in the same time that they were teaching these things, let's say, they were also saying, hey, brother, and everybody's opinion counts and this, that, the other thing. Yeah. But when they got they got that challenging question, they basically sidestepped it and were like, go read my book, page 18, I answer that. And they moved to the next guy type thing. So we sort of created a bit of that culture, but I do see a huge change in what's happening now. Especially, right now in most departments, you're seeing a huge turnover. You're seeing it's not anymore like, oh, the kids are coming. No, they're there and they're outnumbering the older guys because you had that in the career service, you had that hiring freeze,
right?
About 20, 30 years ago in different parts. So they didn't hire. And so now we have a big gap and that's making a change. And I think in the volunteer service, you're seeing it too, because people had to leave. The people that went to take those jobs in other towns, they didn't stay being volunteers. So now you either have I don't want to say super old because I'm talking about you, 25-year guy. They are in the minority and a bunch of kids coming in that want to do this. So you have to meet in the middle. And, flipping over to the chat too, real quick, you also got a congratulations from John DiGiovanni for your 25 years there. He's got 23 in, so congrats to John.
Bro. Awesome.
Be a yes
man, John. Be a yes man.
Mike Greco threw it out there. It's 100% no culture, and that's something we have to change. We all have to totally change that because so many people are afraid of change. And Dan jumped back in again with think about with basement fires, and he used basement fires as an example, but how we talk about flow path now. Right. And
about
you
what?
And I.
What was that?
Flow path.
Well, flow path. Yeah, that's a thing. Right? That's terminology.
There's terminology, right? But it's terminology that we have, right? And we know things exist, and we've always known things exist. But someone came up with a term, and it changes some strategy and tactics. It's like I'll call it out there the hit it hard from the yard world. Look, there are departments out there that they have no choice, because there's two dudes and you can't go in. You know what I mean? There's a guy pumping and the backup man is a cop. So yes, hit it hard from the yard. You can't do anything. You can't be combat effective. Does that work for me, or let's say Bobby Eckert in our department? In mine, I have a decent crew coming. I have a backup engine coming. Bobby has more than me coming, but we have to be able to say yes to everything and then make those determinations when we get there. Right? What we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And in that no culture, people heard the word flow path or hit it hard from the yard and immediately went, no. Right, let's think about it for a few seconds here. Let's digest and let's learn what works for us.
Conversation, which is lacking these days, which brings us back to the beginning of this whole right? Conversation. And being able to have conversations civilly too. So let me ask you, so along the lines of this no culture, I got a couple notes written down, some other things that have been on my mind that I want to talk about. Let's talk about trust real quick. Trust, I'm so used to guys talking about trust and I go, you have to earn my trust. Where me, On the other hand, I give my trust to everybody up front. I'm 100% upfront. You have my full trust. It's my trust. You have my trust to lose, right? And once you lose it, you're done. Like you're done. But I struggle with this one too because I think this goes in line with that no culture. I think it's a way of taking the easier way out to say, hey kid, you need to earn you got to earn my trust. Right? Get out of here, right? Like I'm a trust up front guy. And I think that's lacking too, right? Is that we have to trust our people, even if they don't have the experience and skill sets yet that we wish they had, right? When fires are down, I mean, these guys are great at resetting fire alarms and cleaning out smoke heads. I mean, fantastic, right? But when it comes to like the meat and potatoes of things, like, we wish our people had more experience. And so it's our obligation to give them as much realistic experience and actual experience that we can. But we need to be able to trust. We need to be able to trust the system, bring it back to society, trust the system, which then allows me in the position in the firehouse to trust my people up front. So when a new kid comes in, I get a new kid, hops on the engine, never met him before. He hops on the engine, brand new Proby. I look at him. I'm like, what's up, man? Welcome to the team. Like, welcome. But there's no, like, you have to earn my trust bullshit. I'm like, you have my trust, man. I trust that you're a good person. I trust that you carry good morals, values, and ethics. And I trust that you're here for the right reasons, right? Now, as time goes on, right, TikTok 2 weeks later, this kid's, totally out of line, doesn't respect the traditions of the building or the institution, doesn't respect our processes, then that trust starts getting taken down a few notches. Talk about that a little bit, Pip. I mean, you're a career boss. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it on both ends. But I'm just curious, friends shooting the shit back and forth today. What do you think about trust? I mean, does it have to be earned? Or do we give it? Are we not giving it at all? Do we not trust anyone anymore and we worry about ourselves and not the other guy in the institution? I mean, this is a pretty loaded question, but I'm just...
It's pretty deep. It's deep for Friday morning. I'm glad I got my coffee, but it's a great thing that nobody, again, it's been talked about. It's been a slide, right? It's been a slide. And however it went, it was a slide and it moved on. But it's such a deeper topic with that. And I'm like you. You know what I mean? Like, and I may have said things like, oh, you have to earn my trust or whatever, because we all say things.
Listen,
like that,
I'm
right?
the same way. I'm sure I've said that, and I'm sure that I even had a couple people where the hair on the back of my neck was standing up as soon as I met them, and I'm like, I don't trust them. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, yeah. Oh, there's something. So with social media and before we all were stuck like this, and I'm meeting people around the world, like there's even been people who, like, from the tone of their email or text, I'm like, oh yeah. Whoa, there's something a little shady about. That's New Jersey, though. That's us, and that's being. I'm sorry to the other states out there, but in New Jersey, we get that sense faster than others.
I agree.
When it comes to this trust, I think everybody starts out like you and I. It's not trust earned; it's that we're giving our trust. But when you get burned so many times and you can't get over that burn, that's where that no culture goes right back into it. Where you just, I've been burned. Every rookie that's come through me has been burned. You know
how many times I've been burned? I mean, like, all the time, right?
Today, it's, what is it? It's 10, or you're off today, so we're not
early. I'm off today. I'm sitting on my patio. I'm having a nice, hot coffee. Like, life is good today. Kids are still in bed. My wife looks pretty. Like, life is good, man. Life is good. But I get burned all the time, but I can't go through life, whether in the firehouse or outside of the firehouse, having my guard up at every second of the day, because that makes you a guarded individual. And once you become that guarded individual, you become a pessimist, and you believe in that no culture, and you believe in that people inherently are bad and not good. And I still typically, even the times I've been burned, and I mean burned financially, friendships,
everything, every way. We've all been.
Right?
It's the people that are like, oh, I've never been burned before. Like, come on, what are you like? Am I believing you? No, and never. Absolutely. Probably. You just lost my trust.
Yeah, but I just, it's to me, I just trust. I think we've become very jaded. I think we have a society now more than ever that everybody cares about themselves and not the greater good. I fully believe that there is a greater good. I mean that it just in every aspect of my life, I can be cynical at times, and I can certainly, pull back and not be as giving or caring or loving as I could at times. But that's also my spidey sense, like going up and knowing that that situation, is warranted of how I'm reacting. And there's been times I've been wrong, and so on. But I think it's important that, in the trust aspect, we allow trust to be had up front. And I think that we have to get away from this trust earned mentality.
Oh, dude, here. I mean, here it is. Your our friends from Crew First Culture in the chat.
Yeah.
With a quote: "Trust is given. Trust is given. Mistrust is earned."
Yeah. It's good.
And I'm like, dude, that.
See, I hate guys that are smarter than me, more articulate. Like, I'm just a meathead, man. Like, these guys, like, that's like a fortune cookie, bro. I couldn't put that's ridiculous. Thanks.
He may have gotten that from a fortune cookie. Like,
yeah, hey, Jeremy,
you got that from a fortune.
You have my winning lotto numbers on the other side of that?
Yeah, I was going to say, what are the winning numbers? Right? But this is why you and I do what we do, right? This was the start of 555 was putting together different ideas. Yep. It was a thought that through fitness we could all become better people. And I've grown so further that. The same as with National Fire Radio and you starting that, the thought of like, I'm gonna show people, you put your struts on wheels, but look at how many more things we're talking about now.
Right.
And that's where you take people like us and like Crew First Culture, and listen, we're just lobbing out things and let's see what comes back at us. And that goes back to that yes culture.
And it all has to come from a good place. I mean, that's ultimately where it needs to come from, right? We all need, all of us. I mean, the pages that were started for reasons other than the right reasons aren't around anymore or won't be. Their messages aren't heard, and they're just stoking issues and then moving on. And there's no long game to them. But I think what excites me, and the reason why we did start this animal, is because there's so much more good than bad, but all I was seeing was bad. All I was seeing the negative message. All I was seeing was the discouragement that's happening every single day in the firehouse of guys being discouraged. And in a culture where, when I grew up in a firehouse, it's the only place I wanted to be. And now, there were days that I found myself not wanting to be. And I was like, man, that's weird. Like, what's that shift? Why was it when I was that 18-year-old kid, young and fresh in the firehouse, did I want to live there? And then, bring it 12 years later, I was struggling with some days. I was like, man, this is more work than it's worth, or I'm not into it anymore. And is it me? Is it the institution? It's a lot of both. But I think ultimately we've created an institution where, it starts to wear. Starts to wear on you, wears you down. And I think we can get around that, though. And that's truly what I was seeing. And I was like, man, do I have an opportunity to do this? I got a big mouth. Like, can I get out there and promote the good? Oh, and that's
so much. It's so much about change, and I learned a lot of that from my dad, who, I've heard him say this, and I don't want to say like he says that I'm a better firefighter than he's ever been, like tactically wise. And I'm like, Dad, that's not the truth. It's just, we look at things differently now than you did in the 70s and the 80s when you were riding the back step. I mean, my dad was a tillerman in an open cab tiller in New Jersey. And someone was like, hey, why don't we encapsulate this guy? He actually, they talk about, he talks about it was better to be the tiller man and know how to drive the tiller than I guess what would be like the third or fourth man seat on their tiller. Because so if you're in the tiller seat here, the jump seat was next to the tiller man facing out sideways. So think like you're sitting, the tiller's going down the road, you're on the back of the truck swinging here like this, and you're facing out with your legs dangling. Like,
it's wild.
Someone finally was like, this is a bad idea. Like, we need to change this, right? Like, yet again in the fire service, like, oh, ride the back step. We get off the rig faster that way. But regardless of that, it's that change that we're talking about. And I think you're really doing a good job. And me too, all of us that are out here of showing that change is okay. Not every change is great. Not every change is going to work, but we have to be open and excited to it. We have to be looking for it. And I think when you look at what you were saying about, getting a little disheartened, look, there's going to be disheartening days. We've all kind of had bad days with that. And two, Dan said about you, Jeremy gained not only the trust at my department on his visit with the older guys, but the past chiefs. You inoculate into different cultures very rapidly with what you're doing. And I think I do too. And these folks trust us because we're just genuine people. You know what I mean? Like we're really just trying to be better. And you hear that quote, leave it better than you found it. But how many people can actually say they were part of that?
I'm texting Dan right now, man. Good dude. He's laid up right now with surgery. So he's
that's why he's blowing up the chat right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Poor guy. He's probably typing with his toes. But anyway, yeah. I mean, but it's fun, man. It's fun to be able to go in and shake the hands of guys in different departments that I've been able to do. And I mean, I've been in. I can't even tell you how many firehouses now, and I meet people, and some of my favorite conversations are with the hard-headed, difficult guys that are in the room when you first get there and want nothing to do with you, and 30 minutes later they pulled up a chair and they're sitting basically on my wanting to talk, and I think I enjoy that more than anything. I also enjoy watching the faces of everybody else in the room when that happens, because they're all like, what is that?
What just occurred?
Why is Joe pulling up asking Jeremy if he wants a cup of coffee, and he sits down to him after the guy's been here for 30 minutes. Meanwhile, he tells us to go scratch every 5 seconds, right? Like, and it's because it's I'm one big personality. I walk in the room and I just, that's how I am. But two, my love for what we do, and I love storytelling, and I love hearing the stories more. As much as I talk, I listen. And I think that's important too. I think a lot of guys in this no culture and in this no trust culture, they're so wrapped up in hearing themselves talk that they're not willing to listen to others also. What was it? That white man can't jump. It's like, do you listen or do you hear, right? Can you hear what I'm saying, or are you listening to what I'm saying, right? So there's that difference, right? And that's a 90s movies for all you Wesley Snipes and what the hell?
Woody Harrelson
and Rosie Perez. Oh, she's a firecracker, dude. I love her. Anyway,
firecracker.
Yeah, but do you hear me? You listening to me? That whole conversation. But I enjoy those opportunities, and I think more people need to do that. More people need to listen. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes being quiet and listening is more powerful than speaking and being the guy that's out front. And I enjoy listening. Even today, our back and forth. It's just been awesome. We hit on some really.
Well, it's what we're doing now, right? We're both big personalities, let's say, and we're both listening to each other. And I think that's something that, again, like you and I we've had disagreements and we don't agree on everything, but we listen to each other and we value each other. And
right.
I mean, to go into some more insight of just things, I mean, Jeremy and I talk a lot about the business that is social media, that is National Fire Radio, that is 555, because we're learning from each other about these things. And that's the kind of back and forth that is I love that end of the fire service. I've loved learning from the different guys that I've worked with over my career, and especially the different people that I've met around the world on social media. Like you would, the amount of friends that I have now, just because I've listened, and it's more amazing that what.
I'm happy you have some friends. It's really good.
Oh, I got some friends. I did get some friends. You're right. I did. It was a big deal for me. My mom was really proud.
I get it. I get it.
You have all these friends on social media, like 6,000 of them. They're all my friends. They're coming to my birthday party last week. But no, you because you listen to folks. And to me, I think one of the craziest things is when people are like, I can't believe you answered me.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And this has gone on now for the entire time we've been involved. I've been involved in this. They're like, you're really a person. And I appreciate you for that advice. And then I started to really pay attention, because I would reach out to folks and they wouldn't answer. And I'm like, oh, that's what they're talking about when they thank me for that one,
I try. I try so hard to answer everybody and to engage everybody. I mean, I'll tell you, at times it's tough. There's no doubt a couple of weeks might go by, but I try to get back to it if I can. I take one day for an hour and just start scrolling through and answer, even if it's a quick answer. But I'll tell you, like, sometimes we get some pretty long, drawn out, I don't mean that badly, drawn out, but
No, yeah.
few paragraphs of like, hey, this is my situation. Can you just point me in the right direction? And it's not so much, I really appreciate that, right? That somebody would value me and our platform to think that my message could be helpful for them. I'm floored by that, truly, because I'm nobody. Like, there's no reason for me to be giving, any advice, So, I'm humbled by that. But I also want people to understand that, like, the struggle they're having is also a struggle that a lot of people are having, on so many different levels. But, if you're struggling in your firehouse with a department that has a command staff that's been in position for 25 years, say it's a more rural volunteer department where the fire chief is also the postmaster and he's been there for 30 years, and it's fire chief for 30 years and doesn't allow any type of change or growth in their firehouse, and these are young kids that are excitable and they're just being knowed and squashed at every turn. That's a hard conversation, but people are going through that. So many people go through that. So many people have been passed up for promotion. So many people have been, have had a bad day, or they have a run-in where, they're getting their balls broken to the point that the guy's an asshole and not just firehouse ball busting. There's a lot of this conversation. Everybody struggles with a lot of these things, but putting out a platform where people understand that they have a way to connect with others now more than ever, with, finding similarities, finding a culture that fits them, and so on. That's what social media is really about in my eyes, is being able to find what you're looking for now more than ever. I mean, you and I growing up, we didn't have that. You didn't have you were a Mohawked Wu-Tang kid. It's like how many, but think about it. Like, now more than ever, you could join every Wu-Tang fan club and find people that are in your likes and dislikes and so on. And you have an outlet now to, find people with similarities. And I think, in the fire.
I wanted to have a Mohawk my whole life, right? And I was scared to do it. I was scared. Right. I was scared of my parents, obviously, for a long time with all that. Even when I moved out, and they're still like, when are you guys?
You've obviously gotten really comfortable because you've got that stupid thing on your face right now. So, like, you've obviously gotten.
This is not stupid on my face right now. It's totally not stupid. It's November. You're allowed 1 month out of the year to do something.
I thought you would have smudge on the sides. I was going to try to wipe them off for you. I didn't know that was.
It's total Freddie Mercury, man. I'm going to be blasting out Queen tunes in 2 weeks, and you're going to know it, man. It's going to be epic, more epic. But that's also, I'm now in my early 40s, and here I am, and it's okay to have this individuality.
Yes.
It's okay to express myself. I'm not doing anything wrong because I had legitimately had someone at a show a few years ago come up and basically looked at me and said, "You're a firefighter?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He actually had a white shirt on, so he was in his uniform at the show. I'm like, "Yes, sir. I'm a lieutenant in New Brunswick, New Jersey." And he's like, "I would fire you in a second if you showed up to work with a haircut like that." Well, have a good day, sir. It's nice to meet you. And I'm sorry that my haircut.
That haircut is super indicative of how good I am on the fire ground. You're 100% right.
Anything, you know what I mean? Like it's that just no culture again. He didn't know a thing about me. And I think looping back into kind of go back to where we were talking about this platform that we have and people reaching out, I do not have all the answers. I am not, I say it when I teach, I am not the be all end all answer to fire service fitness in the least bit. However, I want to have an open conversation with you. You come to me with questions. I generally ask more questions back than I give advice. To say like, well, look at it this way. Why don't you do this? Why don't you think about this? I've heard this work. And like you said, people think that they're the only person that has this problem. They think they're the only person that gets made fun of because they bring their lunch to the firehouse every day. Maybe, they pack their own lunch or whatever. You're not, you're never not that only person. Just look to these different social media pages out there and people out there. And I'm more than happy to help you through it. And if I don't have that answer, chances are good at this point, people like you and I know someone who definitely has the answer. You know, like if you ask me about ladders, I know who I'm sending you to. You ask me about nozzles, I know who I'm sending you to. There are people that I've grown to trust, and they're going to be treat you the same way I do. Is the other thing, you know, where that mistrust is earned, trust is given. Same theory on that.
Yeah. I got it.
Dan Baker says my mustache shirt looks better. Come on, man. There's no. It's because it's drawn on. But anyway.
Are you choosing to do this, or is your company doing it?
No, I choose to do this with the mustache. I choose to do this every November now. I don't even raise money for anything. I just do it to look ridiculous for a month and not take myself seriously. You do it to piss off my wife for sure. Yeah. And I think, you know, in not understanding the fire service culture, even though she does, I mean, this starts in like August where she's like, you're not going to do that in November. Well, that's the green light. You know what I mean? Like if she walked in, it was like,
I love those memes.
That. It may actually get shaved.
I love those memes where they show like, you know, guys with like big handlebar mustache and it's like Movember and the actual Movember. And it's like this like 24-year-old kid with this horrible mustache, like 7 hairs on his lip. It's terrible. It's terrible. All right, listen. So one more, I want to hit on one more thing before we get out of here. And you talked about it before. You talked about your father driving an open tiller in the streets of New Jersey, you know, snowing, raining, didn't matter, right? Men were
crazy with a rubber jacket and an aluminum helmet.
Tin helmet, like, right? Yeah. But I want to ask you this. Why are we so infatuated with the nostalgia of the fire department? I know I am. I look at like when I grew up. So let me just put it in perspective and where I'm going with this is, you know, 20 minutes outside of New York City where I am, are the influence of New York City fire department. The FDNY was just super big in my world. And, you know, as a kid falling in love with the fire service, it was just like, that was the place to watch because social media didn't exist and you didn't have the internet. So you couldn't find other parts of the country to look at. So you always looked at what's close and local. And the FDNY for me was, so, you know, open cab, you know, Mac CFs and aerial scopes and, and Seagrave engines and all that stuff, right? That New York City spec, you know, was always big for me. And that's nostalgia for me, looking at guys, salty helmets, dirty coats, hip boots, cigarette hanging out of their mouth, always smiling, always had that K-12 swung over their shoulder. Like, you know, those images to me is what really shaped my love for the fire service growing up. And I know when I see, there's some great social media pages on Instagram, Start the Water photos, Force the Door. Like these guys are guys that have been around a long time and they have friends with incredible photo collections and they're reposting all these unbelievable photos. And every time I see one, man, it just gets the juices pumping, you know? I love it. I love that nostalgia of the fire service. Why do you have that too? Do you get like, do you throw it back to the yesterday of like what shaped your love for the job? And do you hold that on a pedestal?
I don't know if I think about it as much maybe as some folks do, but I definitely do because I like the fact that we have a chronicle and we look at where we've come from and where we're going. And we're able to do that. You know, there's so many professions out there that don't really have a past, even though I'm gonna throw my buddy up the block, kind of one of my good friends. He's an accountant. Like he doesn't look at old calculators,
right,
and abacuses, right? Like whereas, you know, my wife is a physician assistant, and that profession has only been around for maybe 40 years, you know, and they're emerging now in different ways. They don't, again, have this nostalgia and these pictures and these iconic images that we have. But when I look at any department, but really specifically my department, you know, the ability to look back and see what it was like at fire headquarters in the 70s, be able to see pictures from the 50s, the 30s, you know, that nostalgia, that keeps it going. And that's that pride and tradition. You know, and we're doing it differently. You know, we don't have a tiller anymore in my department, but we know we did. You know, and we're not going to get a tiller back because where I work, we have one ladder, and having a bucket is what we need. That's what we need to work in. You know, but we have that nostalgia that we did. And that really sparks me into teaching the kids about it, learning from past experiences, just what is it? Maybe like 3 weeks ago, the fire in New York, the Wallbounds fire.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one where that just was the anniversary of that.
Right.
You still need to learn from things like that. We have that ability to learn from the past and that window in. We see it in the military. With the military has that ability to look back and see those things. That's what keeps it going for me.
Yeah.
And the fact that my father was there. I think about pictures that I have of my father that, someday are going to get on the wall of this office, but like, that is just awesome to see him like that. He had epic sideburns, not just an epic mustache like I had, but like that type of stuff, wearing a blue t-shirt, just like I wear today.
Right.
Those are the images that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go.
I just wonder, for myself, I wonder, the imagery of the fire service when I was growing up has really stuck with me. And it's something that I absolutely love. And I wonder, kids coming up, I'm thinking about the young kids in my firehouse now and what they know to be the fire service now compared to what I knew it to be when I was a kid. And I wonder, if in 25 years, these young kids right now will have the same love and passion that I have and consider what they went through when they first joined to be their nostalgia moment of, loving every step of the way and being, influenced by what we do today versus, the way I was,
Well, that's us, that's us in the yes culture and in teaching them, this is how it was in the past. And, even we, so Hurricane Sandy just had the anniversary of Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah.
8 years ago, right? 8 years ago, I think 2012. If you talk to the kids now, the kids like our most recent rookies who were, 10 and 12 when Hurricane Sandy hit, I swear some of them treat it like you worked during Sandy. It was like we were in Nam. And I'm like, I did, man. I didn't sleep for 38 hours, bro. Like
crazy, bro. Crazy,
bro.
It rained.
It
Yeah, I know.
Really hard, and it was really windy. And I'm like, it was, yeah. Like you tell these stories, like, and come on, like I'm gonna have fun with it too. Where it's like when I see that they're like asking these questions, like, dude, I thought the ladder was gonna flip over, and like for a second I really did. I thought we were gonna tip over in the wind, but like we build it up for that. That's gonna keep them with that nostalgia if we keep doing that. You know what I mean? Like my father and his friends, his coworkers were giants to me when I was little kids. And right. I feel like that's how my kids see the guys I work with. You know what I mean? And that's what I think is going to keep it going.
Good.
Us continuing those traditions of that. And even I got, so my neighbor up the block is a teacher and she's all virtual. And she's like, could for fire prevention, could you do a Zoom from the firehouse and show my kids, my first graders, your firehouse? Okay. And here I go, right? I'm on Zoom. I got the phone on the selfie stick. And right. I'm like, all right, kids, we're going to do a firehouse tour. I didn't know what I was doing, but to see their eyes on Zoom. And even the teachers were like, looking, the teachers may have been looking at the people around me more than the equipment, let's say, but they were, you're always going to have that. And we need to appreciate that. We need to continue that. That's why you wave to the kids. Right? When you're in the fire engine and you see a kid 100%. On the corner, if you don't wave to him,
you stop at every lemonade stand, car wash, kids on the corner, hunt the horn, whatever, right? Like it goes. So-
I feel bad if I see the kid looking and I don't wave for whatever I'm doing that I can't get the wave in or whatever it is. But it really makes me hope that the guy sitting behind me is waving.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things that I always tell the new, like, wave to the kids, man. It's even the adults. I mean, with outdoor dining, you drive by outdoor dining now and everybody's glasses in their hand. And,
right.
and that's 2000, September 12th, 2001 right there. Right. Like people are doing it. We have to appreciate that and we have to give it back. And that, we just got to keep going, bro. It's gonna be a rough winter, and we're gonna get through it, but we're gonna do it. You know what I mean? That yes culture, dude. Now you're making me think of all the times I've been a no man.
Good.
Right? Like
You got to make a list of people you need to apologize to. Thank God I called Jeremy. That guy. Yeah, Steve Buscemi from Billy Madison. He's like, Billy Madison. People who I need to kill.
Steve Buscemi crosses them off the list, and then he's got the
lipstick. Lipstick on, right? Yeah. Thank God I called that guy. Yeah, right. Exactly.
There may be a few people who I'm not calling, Jeremy.
Speaking of, thank God I called that guy. This has been a fantastic Friday morning, man. So, what do we do?
It has been.
Yeah, going forward, man. You and I need to do more of this. But also, let's talk about you real quick. You have the Size Up, which is a podcast that's on the National Fire Radio channel. That's going really well. You want to talk about that for half a second?
Sure. I only get half a second, man. No, it's been an experience. Last night we recorded episode 10 with, as I say in the beginning, one of my oldest best friends and one of my newest best friends. Nice. And they both happen to be fire captains. And we talk about fire service leadership. And it was just an amazing talk like this. But I was excited to get to episode 10. It's taken me as many months to get there. But it's been challenges, and we're just going to keep moving forward with it. So I got some other guests lined up, and I'm stoked. You getting yelled at because we've gone too long?
No, my wife just flashed me from the yard.
Oh, awesome, Terry. Keep it up.
Sarah, we're live on YouTube right now, by the way. Yep, love you, baby. It's my Friday morning.
Isn't that the best?
Look at that color red right now. That's fantastic. I love you.
This is, to me, this Friday morning thing, I was ready to give you some shit too, to be like you give Eckert prime time, 8 o'clock, and it's Bobby Eckert, 10 a.m. on a Friday, and it's Let's Go Live with Pip. This is like Kathy Lee and Hoda. Like, I feel like without the booze, we have to do a booze episode of this.
It's funny because as much as I get what you're saying, I do this for me. That's the selfish part of what. No, I mean this. Like, you're right. I am incredibly. I'm a giving person, but I'm incredibly selfish, and incredibly selfish in the way that, like, I enjoy this more than probably anybody else. I just enjoy connecting and having good conversation because that's what we started this whole thing on. And if anybody else enjoys it, fantastic. But really, like, this is a selfish project in a way for myself to stay connected to this fire service that I love. And so, yeah, that's, Friday morning. Sorry, man.
You're selfishly giving is what you are.
Well, who right? said, is that Jeremy again? Crew First Culture? Because that's another fortune cookie right there, bro.
No, that's Pitt. I'm writing fortune cookies now, man. I just came up with that one. Selfishly giving. That's what we're doing with our platforms here. Yeah. So the Size Up, we're going to keep going. If you want to be on the Size Up, if you have a story to tell about your personal Size Up or change or growth or anything, that's what it's all about. You can hit me up, at the _size_up on Instagram or wherever you can find us. There's easy ways. But I'm looking for more guests to tell their stories and looking for guests that I don't necessarily know about.
Right.
So that I think that's something too that we're trying to put out there. Like, we have to do a better job of that. But like, I want people to tell their stories. I want to be able to tell them without knowing them prior, type thing.
Yeah, I love that. Good. And then what are we doing with
We got that. With 555, we're about to give out the last grant of 2020. I am in lots of planning stages for 2021 because we're not going anywhere. 555 Live has been going down. We had an awesome workout for my birthday that the crew put together and young Finn and Tracy did with me, which was just beyond epic to share that.
Cool.
But I think we're going to go live again with that next Friday the 13th, because why not? Friday the 13th is supposed to be the day this whole thing ends, because it all started on March 13th, Friday.
Was that right?
13th.
I didn't even know that. You
didn't hear that one in the conspiracy theory of life? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, March 13th, it's going to reset, click like Thanos, the Thanos button. Maybe I'll wear Finn's Thanos glove for the workout that day. But yeah, so I think we're going to hit that. And, that I keep trying to stress to people, join us, because it is good for your body, good for your mind, and it sounds as corny as shit right now, but good for your soul.
Yeah, it's good.
It has kept me rolling. You know what I mean? And come and join us. We throw the links up live now. You can come in, work out. We want to know who you are, where you're from. We're expanding. We're getting people joining us from all around the country now. So it's
I love
pretty dope.
Very cool. All right, my man. Well, it's been a real good morning, and thanks for having a cup of coffee with me and shooting the shit for a little bit.
Yeah, man, I like this. We're going Hoda and Kathy Lee more often, man. This has got to be
I
a
agree.
morning Joe here.
All right. So listen, let's get out of here. Let's get our day moving. And hang though, I want to talk to you offline for a minute, so don't go anywhere. I'm just going to end the live feed. But
Don't disappear. Peace out,
don't,
guys. Hey,
don't
CrossFit
dis-
Florian too. Much love. Bill Malcolm.
nice. All right, pal. I'll talk to you. Everybody, thanks for tuning in today. And please share, like, ring the bell, and subscribe on our YouTube and share it, please, because the more we get it out there, the more content we can get out to you and so on. So we thank you all for following.